Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Fayal Razak, and we are here with our signature Emotional Wellbeing Matters live sessions. Um, and today I would like to talk about uh, our screen addiction. Ladies and gentlemen, since we have COVID, we have seen that we are too much dependent on screen. Everything we do is somehow related to screen, even our studies now. So the students especially have a lot of work to do on online now. They're supposed to be online for their studies, for their assignments, for their quizzes, for their exams. So it is essential to have a balance between that. So first of all, we need to understand why we are so addicted to screens. Mobile screens, because mobile is very handy. It's always in our hand, in our access. Mobile data packages are very cheap. Most of us who live in a city have access to Wi-Fi, and those who did not even have mobile data packages, they had access to Wi-Fi through public spaces. So, why it is important that we understand that how to limit and what is the extent and what it's doing to our mental emotional well-being. It happens that our brain generates some cues. So the time that was supposed to be for our own self-grooming, reflection, relationship building, motivation, it's now being spent on screen. And we need to understand that this screen addiction is altering our brain because it is draining us of our mental energy. What happens is that because when we are scrolling down, there is no stopping cue. And when there is no stopping cue, we are, in a loop. We go on, and this is called the dopamine compulsion loop. Because you see a video, for a while you're completely engrossed into that, and a little amount of dopamine is the hormone is that is generated when the brain rewards yourself, you feel good about it, and this is how it happens. So this dopamine compulsion loop keeps you busy. So let me present very few alarming statistics there. uh, 1/3 picture on an average cell phone of a young adult, 1/3 of those pictures are selfies. So much so that the scientists have said that these selfies, the pictures, these selfies, um, is creating a narcissistic personalities because you are too much into yourself and taking so much selfies. And this is the age for 18 to 24 years old. And there was a study, and they asked them whether they would give up their phone, and they presented them with some options, what would they do? Would they rather lose a phone, or they lose your pinky if they cut your pinky? It is it was astonishing that mostly youth, mostly teenager, said that they would opt to lose a pinky rather than losing their phone. So this is how much their brain has told them the importance of the cell phone in their life. They can have a disability of losing their pinky for a life rather than giving up on their smart devices. So another statistics is that 97% of the youth play video games. And we know that when you are playing video games, you complete a task, and then again that dopamine compulsion loop, you're there. So 1/4% of the adults or the teens, they say that they were online constantly. So this online presence constantly is posing a lot of mental health risk, because there are certain websites, there are certain social media sites that have proven to be bad, adverse for your mental health. Because in social media, everybody is projecting their best pictures, the best lifestyle, and they pretend. So it creates a lot of envy and competition, and conversely it adds to depression. So those teens and those adults who were more on Facebook were more depressed rather than those who were on YouTube, because there are more educational videos on YouTube, and there are not comparison where you're putting your stuff for the people to see, rather than when it is more personalized, your lifestyle and the things you do. So we need to understand that there are in this social media space and this electronic space, there are certain apps that could be very good for your well-being, like meditation apps, like apps where you can find peace and calm and strategies to cope. But on average, if you have even downloaded those apps, the research says that you spend not more than 9 minutes on that app. Whereas if you have like let's say 4 accounts in Instagram, LinkedIn and Facebook, on average a person was spending about more than 27 minutes on each account, so at a time. So if you see that, it means that the apps that makes you feel good and the apps that does nothing but eventually makes you feel bad, you tend to spend 3 times more on the apps that make you feel bad. So that's the choice that we have made unconsciously, which is affecting our emotional health. So we need to understand that and what is it happening, why it is, how it is happening, and how it is affecting our relationship. Currently there was a research that says that most of the young adults like teenagers and the early 20s, they cannot form meaningful relationship because they do not know how to communicate, because they have been online continuously. They have been nurturing their friendships and building relationship online. So most of them, when they are given time to interact with each other, they don't know how to manage or how to interact in those relationships which are face to face. So basically what the screen gives us is, it gives us a mask as well. So Oscar Wilde says that give a man a mask and he will reveal his true identity. So behind the screen you are another person, and in life you cannot hide a lot of things, your body language, your intentions, and how to communicate. That's hard work, and it's very easy to write it down, some mean thing, rather than to say it on face to a loved one. That's pretty hard, and this requires tactics, this requires empathy, this requires a lot of a lot of internal dialogue. So this is why most teens have avoided a personal interaction and personal meaningful relationship and opt to indulge in screen. So here comes the role of the parents, that they have to limit the screen time. But we have to understand children model behavior from the parents. If the parent is constantly on screen, you can't expect the children to go offline. So what it is doing is that this screen time, this lots of screen time is not only disturbing your sleep cycle, because it directly affects your circadian rhythm through the blue light. So the researchers suggest that you should not be watching any screen at least 4 hours before you go to bed, because the blue light emitted from the screen It gives your mind a message that it's still daylight and it's not time to go to bed. So your mind is perfectly awake because the mind is tired, but it's getting the cues that it's not time for the bed. So it disrupts your internal balance. And we all know that whenever we mess with the nature and the systems that nature has made for us, of course it's going to have a lashback. Of course we're going to suffer. And sleep is so important because it is directly affected to our health, our mental health, our rejuvenation, because most of the important bodily functions are happen during our sleep. Similarly, this screen, the lights emitted from the screen and the messages not only disrupts your sleep, but it also alters the alpha state of mind. There are certain brain waves, alpha brain waves, gamma brain waves, beta brain waves, and they all have their functions. So when we are very focused and we are doing a chore and we are focusing on something important like studying or working, then we are at a beta waves. Our brain is at the beta waves. So beta waves is a highly focused state of mind. And of course, if you stay into beta mode, your brain is bound to get tired, burned out. You can't keep, our human body is just like a biological machine. It overheats, overheats, or it in a a machine. If a machine overheats, it's bound to collapse. Similarly, if you keep yourself into a very alert beta brainwave mode, you are bound to get burned out. So for that, alpha brain state is the state where your brain relaxes, and this state can be achieved if you want like to know what it's feel like, is just before you go to sleep, and right after you wake up are the times that you can see your brain wave. It's just blank, it's calm, it's smooth. So you have to keep into that alpha state. And the mind sciences have, it's a very advanced science now. It says that the internal dialogue, the subconscious mind, the connection between conscious, subconscious mind lies into the messages that we send during the alpha state. So what happens that right before we go to bed or right before we wake up, we tend to think a lot of negative things that we have seen in the mobile over time. So the thing you think right before you go to bed and right after you wake up is going to go to your subconscious mind, the negative inputs that you. So right before you are sleeping, before you go to sleep, if you're scrolling your mobile, whatever the content was in the mobile is going to go to your subconscious mind as a fact. Subconscious mind cannot distinguish between truth and lies. The things you tell them, you must have heard that my father used to say, think good and good things will start happening to you, and think bad and bad things will start happening to you. And this is how your brain works. You automatically create something. There is a law of attraction that says that if you have positive energies, you attract positive things in your life. But if you have negative energies, negative thoughts, you attract negativity into your life. Even the world conspire against you to have negative consequences. So these alpha state is very important to understand, that when you are very relaxed before right before going to sleep is a very important, very sacred time. इसीलिए आप देखें every religion has some sort of prayers. Christianity, before they go to bed they pray, and we have been told by our beloved prophet to recite certain ayats before we go to bed. That messages that we send our brain at that time was essential. So at that time, if you had mobile phone in your hand right before you go to bed. Whatever you have seen on your screen is the reality that you are sending to your subconscious mind. You don't want to do that. I mean, you don't want the world to be your cue for your inner dialogue, for your inner facts that will be attracting what happens to you in your life. So you don't want to do that. So screen is very good. जहाँ इस टेक्नोलॉजी के बहुत फ़ायदे भी हैं, आई मीन इट कुड बी वेरी यूज़फुल. जैसे अभी हमने देखा कि ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन पे जब हम शिफ्ट हुए तो दे हैड अ वे आउट टू लर्न समथिंग. सो अपने आप को लिमिट करें, डिसिप्लिन करें, बिकॉज आई डोंट थिंक दिस कोविड इज़ गोइंग एनी टाइम सून. और हमारा जो डिपेंडेंस है स्क्रीन पर, इट्स गोइंग टू बी मोर इन द फ्यूचर, बिकॉज द फ्यूचर इज़ टेक. And most of the businesses and schools are going to be online. To be honest, if somebody asked me, I would never want to go to a job anymore. I mean, I would like to work from home. So work from home will be a new reality. And when you will be working from home, you will be dependent on screen. So a lot of your work, it will be dependent on your screen. A lot of your studies will be dependent on the screen. So you have to choose very wisely now what you see on the screen and how you spend your time there. Your time is sacred. I mean, this is what when you can make yourself or break yourself. So this is so important that we understand that, because our sleep is essential. Our it's a holistic approach towards well-being. Because why we stress on emotional well-being? Because it affects your immunity. If you are emotionally imbalanced, it affects your immunity, it affects your overall health. There is such a connection between every disease and your emotions. There is such a scientific explanation that every disease that you have in your body has some emotional connection to it. So this emotional mismanagement is going to hamper your healing, your immunity, or it could expedite your healing and your immunity. So it could be your worst enemy and it could be your best friend as well. So to become emotionally balanced and emotionally healthy, you need to have good food choices, you need to have a great sleep, you need to have great relationships, and you need to be grounded into the reality. So practice meditation, practice compassion, practice and spend time on your relationship. That's important, rather than wasting yourself into the screen, which is giving you no good but a lot of bad things that is happening to you without even you realizing. Because the brain is being rewarded, and you see there are no stopping cues when you are on a screen. It's endless scrolling, and that is bad for the brain, because brain is at that beta stage, because it's focused. And anything when you have something that says that it's complete, and then your brain also gets the cue that it has to stop thinking on it as well. So be cognizant that where you spend your time, maintain a diary or something. Initially you have to practice a routine, and the brain like routine, and this is why it doesn't affect change, and accept this COVID and post-COVID thing as a new norm. This is here to stay. That's our new reality. So we cannot over abuse the screen. So make this screen time, make this scrolling, make this apps, make this thing make you a very healthy and a very emotionally balanced person, rather than ruining your life. So with that message, I wish you all the best, and please do tell us that what kind of topics you would like us to cover in our next Sunday live session for our emotional well-being matters. I will be very happy if we can get your input from that. And thank you so much for there and for watching, and wish you all the best. अपना बहुत ख्याल रखिएगा. This is the time to meditate, to pray, to build relationship, and take care of your health. Allah Hafiz.